Hello everyone and welcome. I know I haven't uploaded on this channel in like 2 to 3 years or something, but I'm a bit bored in college and I thought why not start uploading again. One of the things I've always loved doing was building a Minecraft, but I haven't really done it in a while. So I got some inspiration from a Markswamp video to kind of build these small little areas with a specific theme, and I decided let's try that out. So today I'm going to stick with more of a simple theme to let me ease myself back in, and that's going to be a farm. So I'm going to build a wheat mill with a wheat farm, a farmhouse, and a barn and silo. It's going to kind of be in this box, square, rectangle area, and that's what I'm going to build. So I'm going to take you through this process, and if you want to stick around, you can stick around. Anyways, let's get into the video. Alright, so a little bit of a pre-warning here is I did make this massive dirt square and a flat wall, and also where this windmill is sitting, it's going to sit a little bit elevated on a hill. So as you can see, started out with the basic base here with a little bit of a gradient. I messed around a lot in this mod called Axiom with gradient, so I don't want to show you that. But a little things to note throughout this entire build is, first off, the two accent colors I'm going for is red and white. So you see I'm using mangrove to accent the base, if you will, or the roofs of this windmill, for instance. But anyways, this first tier has been pretty much done, and now I'm moving on to the second tier. I also used red tinted windows to accent the red further within this base as well. Alright, and here we're moving on to the second tier after I finished up the first tier. This one I had a lot of difficulties on because I'm trying to stick to an oak and spruce theming, but because these walls are pretty small, I can't really use a gradient. It wouldn't really look good, so I have to somewhat make this clean, neat look with 2 blocks, and it's not really the easiest to do, but I figured it out at the end of the day. The door took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do with, but I always try to emphasize making your doorways kind of unique, trying to make them a little bit special. I don't know, that's just personally a thing that I like to emphasize. Some people may be different, but I like that. But anyways, moving on here to the roof. Again, as I said, this one is going to have that mangrove accentation. I messed around with it a little bit, but I wanted to go for more of a pointy roof on the windmill here to kind of increase the height of it. I always pictured windmills to be kind of tall in comparison to their base, hence why I wanted to make the roof a little bit pointy. And again, mangrove for that accentation. And then we go on to the windmill. This is where the white accentation of the build is coming in with. I decided the windmill fans are going to be white. I mean, typically they're white, but you can mess around with the colors. But since I wanted the white accentation anyways, it goes hand in hand for that. Alright, and now with the windmill fans kind of completed, the blades completed, I did some detailing around the rest of the build. So that included adding basically some flower patches on the sides of the wall, as well as some azalea leaves acting as vines. Just add some pop and some greenery into this windmill. This windmill is kind of supposed to look a little bit overgrown, hence why I kind of wanted this. Some lanterns for lighting, and then now we'll go on the inside. Okay, so I decided to do this in creative instead of replay mod, just because it's a lot easier to show. But I modeled this after an actual windmill, meaning that you got wind turbines at the top that kind of shoot down into this wheat thing, the support beam to kind of hold up the chute and the other aspects, the wind turbines, and then this is where basically the wind turbines generate the grinder that grinds up the wheat. So I modeled it after the best I could an actual windmill interior. now we are working on the wheat farm. So sloping down the terrain, I wanted like a gradual slope. So I kind of, every layer I lengthened out a little bit longer to make like a more gradual, slow slope. And then obviously I filled it all with wheat because I always liked the idea of like wheat. I've always thought like wheat, golden wheat fields were such like a beautiful aesthetic thing to have. So obviously I wanted that. Obviously needed to add a couple other things, so I made a path with a mixture of path blocks, moss, cobblestone, as well as some lanterns on that. Fenced in the wheat field as well, and then added some scarecrows to just add a little bit of pop into the wheat field itself. Alright, so now with the farm all but finished up, and I'm just planting the wheat here to have the, grow into a golden field, I'm going to transition over to the house. Now, with the house, I wanted to make essentially like a two-part L-ish shaped house, sticking to that white and red accentation, so the walls are going to be white. You'll see later on, I make a gradient with calcite at the bottom and the top, and quartz in the middle, and the roof is going to be mangrove. I mess around a lot with the roof. I'll explain that in a second how I eventually come up with it, but just note that. Again, if you look up any farmhouse, you will see porches, long winding porches. So that was a big thing that I wanted to have in this house. I spent a long time with it. I used oak as a kind of contrast to the spruce that we see as like the corner markers, the stripped spruce logs. Messed around a lot with the roof, a lot with the overall look of it, because I wanted to make it open and closed feeling at the same time, in a way, which isn't super easy. And getting onto the decoration of the walls, I basically just added as many windows as I could, and used mangrove color set essentially to decorate everything, which was a little bit of a challenge. I've never decorated with mangrove before, but I thought they turned out pretty well. And as I said, I basically just had windows on every single wall I could, decorating with a variation of mangrove, lanterns, plants, the works. So now I'm just going to shut up and you guys can watch the decoration of all of the windows. Alright, I'm not quite shutting up because I do want to note one thing. I spent about 45 minutes messing around with the roof before I got this design, so I don't have that weird overhang that you saw before. All I did was I combined the roofs at the same height, making this roof on the side a lot more sloped, if you will. Just wanted to note that. Okay, now we'll get back to the decoration. Alright, so now I am making the lawn. House needs to have a lawn. I downloaded a furniture mod to get like this white picket fence, by the way, and then I made a custom tree as kind of like, to, I don't know, have something. If you ever want to make custom trees, couple of tips. The slab, stair, button, fence variants, put them in the tree around the base and make the base a little bit bigger and decorate the leaves a lot. I would recommend 2 to 3 outlying branches to put the leaves on to make it look cool, to make it look custom. I like making custom trees, so that's a piece of advice. Then we made the path, same exact path as I made with the windmill, just connecting into the house. I also made it like a cobble path into the like from the lawn area into the porch area as well, because I felt like a dirt path wouldn't really look correct in a house, if that makes sense. Made a little campsite area here, like a little fireplace area, I guess fire pit area, just a place for people to sit, needed something to decorate. And then finally made a garden. I didn't realize like how tall some crops would grow when you bone meal them, and they looked fucking cool. I didn't realize like radishes and carrots could grow, or beetroots I think, and carrots could grow that high. I thought they looked awesome. Like I really didn't realize that they could grow that big. And again, just some more fencing here. I used the metal fence from that mod, as well as a little bit of an entrance gate to the garden. And then bone mealed around the entire thing. I did also cut the grass when I bone mealed as well. And now we are going to get into the barn. Alright, so before we go into the barn, I did want to showcase the interior of the house. I did use a custom furniture mod to just help me make the building process easier and make it look better. But we have a little living room here with a fireplace, bookshelf, couch, coffee tables, as well, just a little bit of liveliness. And then we have a kitchen here. I really liked using glowberries to add natural light source, liked it a lot. And then going upstairs, we have 3 bedrooms. We have the parents' bedroom over here, went for a dark oak theme, have some differentiation, if you will, in each of the rooms, went for a different theme. We have like the boys' bedroom here, so we got like funny banners, we got a bunk bed, we got the classic traffic cone, if you know, you know. So that was one of them. And finally, we have the girls' room, which I personally liked the best. I went for a really pink theme on this one and had a lot of fun. Alright, so now we are actually moving over to the barn. So I didn't want to show you guys the setup of the barn because again, I tinkered around a lot with the gradient. I ended up settling with a gradient between mangrove, wood on the top, flowing into red terracotta on the bottom. I experimented like red concrete, but ultimately found that these colors did the best, combining subtlety together and flowing together the best for the barn. As I said, it's going to be a red barn and it's going to have a black roof with white outlinings, again with that accentation. So for the outlines, I don't remember exactly what blocks I used. I'm pretty sure I used some variant of diorite and calcite for my blocks, but I basically use these pillars around the build to segment it, have some accentation, add some differentiation within the walls as well, before actually building that slow, low, sloped roof that barns are kind of known for. Again, using the white to kind of accent within that roof. As you can see here, as I said, low and sloped for that entire roof, and that white accentation is going to be wrapping around the entire structure of the roof to have that contrast between the white accentation on the outline and the black rooftop that you'll see me build here in a second. So for the black rooftop, I used deep slate for the most part, and then I used combinations of deep slate to essentially do what I like to call a spot pattern, if you will, or a spot gradient. Basically, I think often with roofs, because you're looking at them mostly from a top-down view, if you're really looking at them, a gradient doesn't always look the best in terms of its traditional sense. So often I like to use a spot gradient where you basically cut holes into the roof and replace them with similar looking blocks. So as you can see here, I used deep slate cobble and deep slate stone brick to add those spot gradient marks against the deep slate tile for the roof. I really like how it looks. I really like using spot gradients on roofs. I'd recommend giving it a try. If you find normal roof gradients just don't work well for you. But just a little bit of advice, and that was the roof done there for the barn. So now moving on to the actual walls and decorations. Wanted to make a large barn door. You know, they typically have those long, relatively tall barn doors. So I went with this one with some spruce trap doors to kind of represent the barn door, half of it closed, half of it open. Just thought it looked cool. Saw something like that online and some of my reference images, and was like, I definitely want to do that. That looks kind of cool. So yeah, always good to add some sort of feeling of life into your build, make it feel like actually real. And then for the rest of it, yes, ignore the lighting change. It just helped me see a little bit better. There's a lot of shadow overcast when I was building in this side, so I know it looks ugly. But for the rest of it, then some basic decoration. Again, I want to stick with the white accentation, and then you'll see that I use oak as the windows, and I'm basically using oak fences. I feel like a barn wouldn't have glass windows, so I thought oak windows would be a really good alternative. Looks kind of rustic as well, and you see with the also windows, I used oak trapdoors. Again, the oak is supposed to kind of clash against the spruce that are used for trapdoors in some of the decorations you'll see here. I was messing around a lot with this as well before I finally settled on my design for the front here, and then using some lanterns to add some light into this to basically highlight that barn, because if you ever are walking through this build at night, obviously you need some light sources as well. Moving on to the sides, wanted to keep these relatively simple, relatively clean. A barn, I feel like, is more of a simplistic building, so basic windows, basic accentation, and a basic over top on your covering of the windows. That's also a little bit of a piece of advice I can give as well, is if you're trying to figure out how to make your building pop, build with better texture, build something over your window, like a little mini roof, if you will, over your windows. That can definitely add a lot to your build. And as you can see, I did that on both sides with some symmetry here on the barn. Moving on to the back, this was essentially like a remake of the front, just without the big door. So I added the same exact top window, and then I just added some more simple, basic windows down on the sides as well. And then here is the silo. So barn and silo, I feel like, go together well. This silo was really fun to build. I've never really built a silo, and it was really easy, but also really fun. I took a lot of inspiration from a reference images here, and it was a really good reference image that gave me a lot of ideas. Obviously, as I said, didn't copy it, changed quite a few things actually up about it, but I used the gradient that I used with the mangrove and the terracotta, but I did change up the roof, and you'll see that in a second here, from a deep slate roof to a tuft roof. If you ever look up silos online, like real life silos that are in this style, you see that the roof is often a much lighter shade or color than the rest of the silo, like the bottom, the cylinder part. So I thought, what's a different color that kind of can blend with deep slate? That's tuft, and that's where you see I added the tuft on the roof. I actually experimented with a couple of different blocks before settling on tuft, but I did ultimately settle on tuft. This silo, by the way, really good to make in your build. Like, if you ever want a silo in your build, I really recommend giving this kind of silo a try. It looks really good, it's really easy to build, and there's so much like variation you can do with it. I don't know, just a piece of advice. But yeah, so this was the build on the shallow, and this was pretty much the end of what I'm going to show in replay mod. I'm going to quickly show what I did with the interior of the barn, as well as show the overall build. But yeah, this is pretty much the end of the replay mod section of the video with the barn and silo. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and let's go to the interior now. Alright, so the interior of the barn, I did like a stable barn. So as you can see, there is 6 stables with wheat and a water bucket for like horses, whatever you want to put in there. And then as you go up the ladder, you go into this wheat storage area with a little desk. And with that being said, let's just do a nice little cinematic of the entire build.